Good evening and what is up, Razorback Nation? Here we are for a later episode of Hogs on the Hill, your Sunday Razor recap. As I just got back not too long ago from covering our Arkansas gymnastics meet. We had the first home meet tonight. So we'll cover a little bit of that. We'll talk a little bit about the Arkansas basketball game on Saturday, a little bit about the transfer portals. We got a late edition this evening, and we'll talk a little baseball. But before we get started, we got to thank our friends over at Razor Pigs. Looking good, never felt so fun. Razor Pigs is the Arkansas-born brand, bringing some serious style to the golf course, tailgate, and everywhere in between. From high-quality polos to head-turn hats, they've got what you need to rep the natural state with pride. Found it right here at home and now run by a Razorback-loving family. Razor Pigs is where comfort meets cool, so go hog wild and shop Razor Pigs today at razorpigs.us. And our friends over at Scarlet Letter, Arkansas's very own handcrafted spiked seltzer. You can check them out today. And if you are in Northwest Arkansas, check out the Core Brewery Tap Room where you can get Scarlet Letter in all of its various flavors. Sunday night, how we doing, boys?
Doing good. Got some playoff football on, so can never complain about that, especially with it being a good game. But
you can complain about it.
Oh, okay. You know what? Fair enough. I mean, hey, at least it's not a game like last night, though.
Yeah, no. It just
I would have a lot less to complain about if yesterday gone a little bit better for us. But yeah, no, we'll talk about that here in a few minutes.
Yeah. So, another week where we talked about it on the midweek show where we're like, okay, good bounce back win by this basketball team at home, kind of, blowing the doors off South Carolina, taking care of business. Good win, good bounce back. Take that momentum on the road. And what does Arkansas do? Come out and look exactly like they did against Auburn. And as soon as this game started, I was like, oh boy, here we go again. Slow start. They take out the lead. Cyril was just dominating us in the paint. And then, in the second half, Arkansas makes the comeback, ties the game at one point, and, fought back, but still couldn't get things done. Final score 90-76 as they head back home with a tough home matchup against Vanderbilt this week.
Yeah, that'll be a fun environment, I hope, whenever we play Vandy. But I think it'll be a good environment. Going back to that game, though, man, it was one of those, slow starts again out the gate. And like you kind of alluded to, I mean, I think at one point it was 11-0. And so you're not going to win on the road many times, but, there were a few things to kind of look forward to. A couple little bright spots, and obviously I'm probably in the minority of Hog fans trying to find the bright spots on this game, but, we actually have more fast break points than them per game. They're first in the country. I think we were third or fourth. Actually outscored them by 2 in fast break points, and also points in the paint, we actually outscored them by 10. We lost by 14, and the difference was the points off turnovers. So at least the bright side there is that what the difference in the game was something that was not just us being outplayed. Well, in a sense, yes, but it was a lot of things that we can do better. So it was one of those kind of, you can look internally and address that. It wasn't like we were just outmatched. It was just almost like a lack of focus for part of the game that you saw. I don't know if they came out expecting Georgia to lay over, but we came out with no fire at all. And that's what really hurt us. But the turnovers was the big difference there in the game. Still, we had 18 turnovers. They had 17. They just executed with 29 points off turnovers, our 15. So that's kind of what killed us, is just whenever we did turn the ball over, we gave up scores. And that's kind of, considering how the game started, it's nice to at least see that was kind of the difference maker of something where we at least fought back and corrected that to a sense.
Yeah. And to me, it was like early in the game, too, talking about the turnover specifically. It just seemed like, early in that game, uncharacteristic turnovers by Darius. Like it was just a weird game. And I think that kind of fell in line with what we saw, like how everything started, uncharacteristic turnovers by Acuff. But, he finally got it going and, into the first half, into the second half. But yeah, I mean, slow starts. That's been a killer so far in
Yeah.
2 of the 3 road games.
And
you
obviously,
lose.
you can burn the tape once, but you can't really burn the tape twice. At that point, hey, it's back-to-back road games. At that point, it's not your team. It's something you probably need to look at and address. You can't
Right.
start off that slow. But I think the big thing was, like you said, uncharacteristic turnovers. That's not what he normally does. So I don't think Hog fans need to freak out or anything. It was very uncharacteristic the start of that game was for him. I think them face guarding him took a little bit more adjusting for us than we should have. They started off face guarding him, and it was almost like we didn't know what to do. You gotta have a solid plan, especially with how good A-Cuff's been. Teams are gonna face guard him now moving forward, so you gotta really understand, have your second, third, and fourth options going. You can't just rely on him like we have a few games. So I think it's another learning point. I think they're going to improve from it. We really just got out physical, out rebounded against Auburn. Okay, well, we've addressed that. The rebounding battle, we actually won by 8 points in the paint. We won by 10. So we addressed the physicality down low in a sense. Now, granted, Surreal was swatting shots left and right, but we were still attacking the paint, being successful down there. Now you got to look at, hey, you got to start off looking at your 2, 3, and 4 options. So that's just kind of, a learning point each game you got to take away from it. And that's why I think the big learning point this game should be.
Yeah. I mean, and Cyril finished the game with 7 blocks. And I mean, it seemed like, they weren't just simple blocks. He blocked somebody on the post. It's like the announcer was saying he was going full court and chasing down guys and getting blocks. And, it was crazy. But I mean, at the end of the day, hopefully, I know we talked about it before we jumped onto here. Maybe there's a little bit of lineup adjustment we'll see by Cal, tweaking some of these guys and figuring out how to motivate some of these guys. Because, we thought we turned the corner a little bit with a guy like Nick Pringle when he had that game against his old team, scored 15, got some good rebounds. And then he comes out this game, 3 points, 3 of 4 from the line. So all of his points coming from the line. He grabbed you 2 rebounds.
But had 3
turnovers and 1 block. So, more negative than positive there. And then, really couldn't handle Cyril when he was in the game. Then that's when, you bring in Malik Ewing, scores 12 points, 4 of 9 from the field, 4 of 4 from the line. He gives you 7 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 1 steal. Did foul out of the game late in the game, but right now it just seems like he is the better big right now. And at some point, maybe when is the time you shake it up a little bit, give him the start. And I've also seen that it was mentioned on social media, how much longer do you go without maybe testing the waters with putting Malik Thomas in the starting lineup too?
Yeah, I think that's something that, you may look at addressing here in the near future, next game or two. Now, I will say for Vanderbilt, I'd almost say with how good we've been at home, don't mess it up for that one just because that is going to be such a big game. But after that, would not shock me to see any changes. I do think one thing that was understated from the game that everyone kind of tended to ignore is defensively, at least. Now, Grant, Ole Miss was kicking it out, but defensively, Surreal was 6 points, 5 boards. So, I mean, at least our bigs, like down low, at least kind of contained him offensively. He was 3 of 7. That's for a guy as physical and big as he was down there. That was actually kind of good to see. At least the post defense kind of contain him the way they did. But again, I'm trying to find a silver lining in the loss. So, it's positives you got to take away from every game. There's always going to be negatives as well. That's just kind of one of the positives that stood out to me from this game.
Yeah, they got to stop. The road starts or not. It's just there's too much unnecessary stuff happening at the beginning of games that's allowing teams to just get off. I mean, you lost the game in the first 4 minutes. First TV timeout, the game was over. Yeah, they fought back and they tied the game, but at that point, you're just mentally exhausted, physically exhausted. Like Billy Richmond was playing his guts out. I mean, he led the team in rebounds yesterday. So when you're getting down there against a guy like Georgia's guy and getting the boards, and did you see him block that guy's shot? I mean, that's all heart and effort.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know, man. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. This team goes as Malik Thomas goes. If he's going 4 for 17, it's going to be hard to win games like that. And he was missing some open shots, so he's really the glue of this team because he is the sniper. So, and when we're needing it late in the game, it's a tough night when you shoot 5 for 21 from 3. So
yeah, and that's one of those where we entered shooting 39% from 3. We were like first in the conference. So I've said it before, like you don't want to get live or die by the 3. You got to figure out other ways to score when they're not falling. But I agree, like if Malik's off, hey, he had a couple open 3s that he was missing, so that's hard. But I also think more so even like the glue for the team that's more kind of determinant on if we're going to win the game or not is Brazil. And, Brazil's he's kind of been hit or miss lately. We really need him to kind of be solid, be consistent. So that was another one. He didn't really have his best game, and you can kind of tell.
Yeah, 8 points, 4 of 7, 0 of 2 from the line, misses his only 3. He grabs you 2 rebounds. 1 block, 1 turnover, and 2 steals. So, but Pigpen says here, he said, "Is this team an example of the talent only showing up during big games in March, but can't get up for average schools?"
I disagree with that. I think that it's tough because you would think on a road game against a top 25 team would be the big game.
Right.
I think it's almost more so almost alluding to your freshmen, just, hey, it's a road environment and almost coming in shell shocked and not prepared for it fully.
A little bit
which
growing pains.
Obviously got to get that one figured out. But it's just, I think that they'll be fine come March, but I think it's just going to be because they've grown a lot and matured a lot from now to then. I don't really think it's as much of an example of the talent not showing up for big games. So only showing up during big games. Just because of the games they haven't shown up for, games that you would think would need to really show up, whereas like the home game against South Carolina might be they can't get up for an average school, and that's when they really showed out. So it's almost kind of a different, almost like the complete opposite of that.
Yeah, it just seems like the last 2 road games, the team has not been able to shoot the ball very well. And you're not going to beat anybody when you can't shoot the ball very well. It's going to be hard to beat anybody like that, especially when you got a full stadium cheering against you. So it's hopefully the next road game. I have no doubt the next 2 games this upcoming week we're going to light the world on fire and just go crazy at Bud Walton. But when we go on the road again, hopefully we can play a little bit better.
Yeah,
and that's one of those where, if shots aren't falling, you got to find other ways to score.
Yep.
I mean, we're top 4 in the country in fast break points per game. You got to, rely on your defense. You need your defense to travel. And that's one of those where, hey, the defense that we've seen in small spurts this season, need that to be a little bit more consistent, because that right there can really mess with the team. And our length and athleticism is what we are probably the best at. And if you're not using that to your advantage and forcing turnovers and getting out, going quick, that's going to be tough right there. You can't really rely on the 3 game in, game out.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's hopefully something that Cal can get figured out and tweak with this lineup. But, we kind of hinted around it, but Pigpen says, and feel free to take a stab at this, Zane. He says, Pringle earning 20 minutes. Make it make sense with a facepalm emoji.
So I'll give it a shot real fast. So Do I think he's earning 20 minutes a game? Depends on the game. South Carolina, yeah, he earned it. But I think if you're looking at our two post players between Ewan and Pringle, I think Ewan's a little bit more of a finesse and able to kind of dish it out and pass the ball. But I think Pringle's more of the muscle. And so you definitely want to almost start off with the physicality, almost set the tone with that. Obviously, he's had some games where he hasn't been as physical as we'd like. He's had some games where he's more physical than we'd like. Example, end of the game earlier this season where he kind of got in trouble. But I think that just kind of his style of ball being a little bit more physical, a little bit more muscle is, if it's showing up that night, it's good. And that's how you want to start the game, is you want to establish that physicality and let it go off of there. But I also think to counter that, I think Ewan being a little bit more finesse and passing the ball and kind of, I feel like it's almost better for him and his skill set to get a feel for the game and see how the game's playing out before he takes the court. Just because he's able to get to the line, or he's able to kind of pass the ball around. He's able to kind of play different styles of, quote, post ball. So I think it's almost kind of, hey, Pringle's way you want, kind of physicality wise, but also Ewan does better when he gets a feel for the game to start, which is why I would say I still see Pringle starting, just because of that physicality aspect of it. We see it to be more consistent. So that's my stance, at least. I could be way wrong on that pig pin, but hey, you asked me to take a shot at that, so there you go.
Yeah, and it makes sense because you want to come out and establish, hey, you're going to be the more physical team. And that's great and all, but it's like, I agree with you, but it's like, you're looking at it, the physicality, I mean, essentially you want him to get in there and get boards, putbacks, and whatnot, and he's not necessarily doing that. You know, he 2 boards this game, turns over 3 times. Yeah, he gets a block, but like it's almost like the two-sided coin there. Like, you know, are you going to get the Pringle that you saw against South Carolina, or are you going to get this type of Pringle that, you know, is going to come out and give you 3 points and really be a hindrance to the team? He was in a plus and minus. He was -10 for this game.
Yeah, and again, that's one of those where you just need more consistency with it. But when he does come out and play physical the way he can, he started off with, what was it, 2 or 3 dunks and getting to the free throw line in South Carolina. So, like, looking to that game, literally the game before last, he can come out and be physical and set the tone. It's just, are you going to get that from him? And that's almost like, at this point of the season, it's almost a toss-up. And so it's almost like, hey, see how he starts and put you in a little bit quicker, maybe, if he's not coming out the way we need him to.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed. I think Pringle should still start because of that. But I think when you're throwing a center out there at the end of the game in crunch time, I think Ewan should be out there at this point, if that makes sense. Start Pringle, but when you really need one, I think right now you throw Ewan out there. So I think it's the same as Malik Thomas. Let him get a feel for the game. Let him be that spark off the bench. But at the end of the game, he's going to probably be the one out there instead of someone else. So that's just kind of, you know, just mentality of different players. Not exactly saying, hey, your best 5 are going to be starting, but some players play better coming off the bench, and some of them are going to be helping close down the game at the end of the game, but they'll still be coming off the bench to start. So,
because I mean, you look in this game, Malik Thomas, he came off the bench, but ended up being second in minutes, you know, behind Darius playing 39, and then Malik plays 29. So, you know, he's second in minutes in this game coming off the bench. So it's like, to your point, they're kind of getting a feel for the game. And when they're like, all right, we need some energy or something like that, we're going to send in Malik and Billy, because usually those guys, if Billy's not starting, which like he has the past game or two, and I'm sure that could be a little bit of adjustment once Carter is fully back to himself.
I 100% think so.
But then when you have both Billy and Malik coming off the bench, you know, that's some high-powered, high energy coming off the bench.
Exactly. And you like that high energy, and that's where I think Ewan's versatility is good coming off the bench. I also think that with Malik's ability to catch and shoot, Malik Thomas's ability to catch and shoot, I think having your big that we can get the ball into and him kick it out to an open guy, I think that's where I think Malik, you and Malik Thomas being on the court together really goes well together just with their play styles. So I think that might be another aspect to it. Obviously, it's way more in depth than we know, but just kind of my initial thoughts on it is just kind of the play styles. It all makes sense to me, at least how they're approaching it and how they're kind of dealing with the lineups and all that jazz.
Yeah. Well, as you kind of look forward to this Vanderbilt game coming up this week, we take a look at the stats and Vanderbilt's squad that they've got this year. They start off the season, as we talked about, went through conference play, undefeated, enters conference play, wins a couple games, beats Alabama, but then this week dropped back-to-back games. So they're kind of in the similar boat that we are, where start off the season pretty well, and then you've had a couple of really tough games these past few games. So coming into this game, it's going to be a fun one. I can't wait to see the environment for Bud Walton. But you look at their core group of guys. They have 8 guys that play over 10 minutes a game, but then you dive into their 4 guys that play over 20 minutes a game. It's 2 guards, 2 forwards. You've got Tyler Tanner, Duke Miles, 2 guards, and then Tyler Nickel and Devin McLaughlin as the 2 bigs. Tyler Tanner, 30.4 minutes a game, averages 17.4 points, 3.6 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 2.5 steals, shoots 50% from the field, 87% from the line, and 39% from 3. And then Duke Miles, 29.4 minutes, 17.3 points a game, 3 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 2.7 steals, 45.8% from the field, 88% from the line, and 35% from 3.
Yeah, I mean, you got those 4, but I mean, technically they have 6 guys playing 20 minutes plus. Frankie Collins hasn't played as much. I don't know if he'll be playing or not. He's only played 9 games. I don't know if y'all have seen if he's not played lately or if he didn't start the season playing or what. But the other big guy, I don't know how to say it. Okereke. I don't know, but he's 25 minutes a game. 8.6 points, 3.8 boards. He's 6'7", 240. Another kind of big body guy. I do like that, we kind of have the same depth as them. But I definitely think that it'll be a good matchup. The thing that does worry me is they're coming off a 2-game losing streak, so they're going to almost be in that desperation mode, kind of like how Auburn and how even Georgia was last couple road games. Even though it'll be at Bud Walton, they're going to come in with some extra added juice because they're on a 2-game losing streak. So it's going to be a good game regardless. But also, I mean, they were undefeated. Iowa State was undefeated entering this week, and they were also 0-2. And then you had another ranked team, North Carolina, go 0-2 this week. So it's kind of crazy. You saw 3 top 25 teams.
And Arkansas is still dropped 5 spots.
Yep. Ding, ding, ding.
Even though Georgia lost to Ole Miss earlier, they're probably jumped. Even though they did lose to an unranked team too. So.
Yep. And at least our loss was on the road to a ranked team. But
exactly. But we'll still drop.
I got a feeling Georgia will still be ahead of us this week. So. But yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm not looking forward to the rankings because I know I'm just going to get mad looking at them.
Yeah,
100%. But you take a look at Vanderbilt's last game. They played Florida close, lost by 4. You look at some of the stats there. You have Tyler Tanner. We were talking about the guards. Tyler Tanner and Duke Miles both play 37 and 32 minutes respectively. Tyler Tanner scores 20. Duke Miles scores 15. In this game, they shoot 36% from 3, 91% from the line. You have A.K. Okereke playing 30 minutes, scoring 15 points, 2 rebounds. So, I mean, spread out scoring for them. They had 5 guys in double-digit points against Florida.
I mean, that's they have 4 guys who average double figures and a guy averaging 9.8. So that's pretty typical for them.
Yeah.
it's going to be tough because the last two games, Florida and Texas, those two teams have kind of attacked the paint against them, and that's where you're able to find success against them. So interested to see if we try to pound the paint against them like they were, or how we try to approach it, because that's kind of been Vanderbilt's weakness from what I've seen so far is if, hey, you can get the ball down low and tackle them that way, you can mess with them a little bit. So my personal opinion, hey, Pringle you, and you're going to be getting the ball a lot. So
right, this is going to be your game to kind of get in there and fight with McLaughlin and or Ike. So
Vanderbilt's one of the handful of teams I will take our post over. So
yeah, like we said, if we can get some consistency, like we've I think we've entered the consistency point with Malik Ewan. We know what he's going to come out and give you. He's going to come out and give you anywhere from 12 to 18 points, 5 to 7 boards a night. So, I mean, we've got that established, and it feels like he really found his rhythm and his kind of role in this team when he comes in.
And his ability to get to the line is also undervalued because you can get a team like Vanderbilt who only plays 8 guys into foul trouble, and of those 8, you're talking, well, actually, they have 4 guys listed as forwards and 1 is the center. If you can get some of those post and foul trouble, though, because they do seem pretty thin on the guard depth, could help you in the long run. So that could definitely be something that's one where you can utilize Ewan's skill set to get to the free throw line well and definitely take advantage of the situation. Hopefully, Bud Walton helps get a couple of those calls. So
I was about to say we need all that home court advantage that we can get in this one. So we'll see what happens. This game. You don't want to get to where you've lost 2 in a row, and especially one at your home court. So,
that's where Vanderbilt's at. They're 2-game losing streak, one of them at their home court. So, again, that's why I said they're going to come in kind of desperate. So, expect them to come out ready to go. So, don't take it lightly just because you're back home.
Yeah. This week, changing it up a little bit, the midweek game will be on a Tuesday instead of a Wednesday. And it starts the run of where midweek games are going to be on Tuesdays up until middle of February. So Tuesday at 8 o'clock. So still late tip off, but Tuesday instead of Wednesday of this week. So get ready to tune in for that one. Or if you're going, get there, be loud. Let's get this environment rocking like we did against South Carolina and Tennessee. So
I'll make sure I lose my voice for you.
Hey, that's all I ask. So with that, we'll jump over to some Arkansas football news as Friday, the portal officially closed in terms of nobody else can enter the portal, but there's still, with all the changes that's been made to the portal, there's still been no official deadline date for guys to commit. And we've seen that because we got a commitment today, a commitment late on Friday, I believe it was. But, Coach Silverfield is still working the phone, still grabbing guys out of the portal. And, 2 of those are some big time defensive line transfers that, we literally talked about it. We had somebody comment in on the Thursday show talking about let's round it out with a couple more big time defensive linemen and, another safety or 2.
Well, I think Silverfield might have read the comment.
We did both.
So.
Yeah. And so, you look at the D line, the 2 big transfers coming in from the Big Ten. You got Xadavian Sims coming in from Oregon. He is a 6'3", 305 defensive lineman. He had 1 tackle this season as a redshirt freshman for the Ducks. He appeared in 2 games in 2024. He was a 4-star recruit out of Durant High School in Oklahoma, so he's got some close ties. And he actually used to play with incoming Razorback Colton Yarbrough that played with him at Durant, so he's got a familiar face there. But he is going to be, a guy that was, I think, just buried in the depth chart, similar to some of these other guys, coming here. And, he chose the Ducks coming out of high school over Arkansas, California, Colorado, Georgia Tech, Miami, Michigan State, several other schools. So On3 had him rated as the number 96 defensive lineman in the portal. So, another good addition for this Arkansas defense is you're kind of trying to fill up that depth with guys. And, I think we're on the way, because if you look at our roster now as in terms of the defensive line, you're about 17 deep, with the addition of Xadavian Sims and the other guy we're going to talk about, Trajine Odom, who that commitment came just a couple hours ago. He is a transfer coming from Ohio State. Another guy that is 6'3", 295. Didn't record any stats during his freshman season this year with the Buckeyes, so he'll have 4 years of eligibility. Got that red shirt. Another one where I think he was just buried on the depth chart. He was a 4-star recruit out of high school, according to 24/7 Sports. Coming in, he appeared in 2 games but no stats. He was an early enrollee last January. So, another guy that hopefully Arkansas can capitalize, and Silverfield can, find these guys that are looking for, some playing time, and, Arkansas is the place to get it. And, if we've seen a trend, Arkansas has been that school that, goes out and get these portal guys that maybe didn't get the most playing time at their previous school, and then kind of turns guys into, really good players. You look across several of the past few transfers that have came in, at different positions, and, had success. So maybe Silverfield can keep finding, those guys that can make a difference. And then in terms of the secondary, since we last talked on Thursday, Arkansas has added 6 additional DBs in the secondary. So, you're looking, and then on top of that, a big one that I think could be a underrated, decision, I guess, is Miguel Mitchell decided to withdraw his name from the transfer portal and will be coming back. We talked about how we hated out of that secondary. He was one of few guys that we hated to lose just because the SEC experience. He was one of the better DBs this year, big bodied, in the secondary. So he is returning. That's a big get for Silverfield. So now you've got, 2 of the handful of guys you wanted to come back, between Bradley Shaw, now Miguel Mitchell, and you got Quincy Rhodes. I think those holdovers from last year's team will really be good, hopefully difference makers. And then you went out and got several other guys. Carter Stutenmeyer from Colorado, LaMarcus Hicks from Iowa State. If the name sounds familiar, he is, I believe it's the nephew of our DB's coach.
Okay.
And then Kiuri Magalore, John House, and Nsagbe. So a handful of other guys coming in that will, we've got a lot of DBs now. So that shouldn't be any shortage of depth there. And, I think this squad is really coming together.
Yeah, I think, anytime you get, the biggest thing is you get some depth in there. Hey, you have some guys who don't live up to what we were hoping to get from them. Well, as long as you have enough depth, someone's surely going to be what you were hoping to get from them. So, like with our D-line also, though, opposite of just not living up to, like, they wear down. So if we can just keep that depth, and that's a big factor, I think that's important. I think he's gone out and definitely gotten a good amount of guys to keep that depth and keep that kind of, position battles going strong. So all that's going to do is just help in the long run.
Yeah. And then the other late addition you have is, you've got, is in terms of depth and somebody to kind of run scout team, if you will, is you got a quarterback that I don't know if he's going to be a walk-on here. He was at his previous school. That's Cade Trotter. He is coming over from Clemson, was a walk-on there. I think he's a guy that's just really kind of a depth piece, but more of a guy that will probably come in and take a lot of scout team reps and that type of contribution, if you will.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to be a little underrated piece. You want someone that at least knows what they're doing to be handling those reps. So,
yeah. And so we'll see. I don't know if we'll have any more late edition portal ads. If we do, we'll keep you up to date on those. Like I said, though, Friday the portal officially closed. What guys are still in the portal, which there's a ton of them. We'll see what Silverfield does. I mean, at this point, I believe we are +4 on incoming, outcoming. So the last I saw, we had 32 guys that have exited the program, and we've brought in 36. So, but with that, we'll transition over to Arkansas Gymnastics, as they got a big win tonight in their first home opening meet, where they took down number 6 Auburn 197.250 to 196.075. In a great atmosphere for the home meet tonight. We heard Corey talk about it the other night, and people showed up. It was a loud environment. It was great. Still no 10s. There should have been there were a couple of routines that probably should have been 10s, but hey, what can you do? But we did see Frankie back on the floor like he said we might, and sure enough, she came out there and performed well. So great home start to this Arkansas Gymnastics home schedule. As we know, they dropped their first road meet 8 days ago to Minnesota, and then they'll be back in action this Friday back at home versus SEMO, and that is it. We'll start at 7:15, but as Corey said, first event will start at 7, but be there 6:15, 6:30 for the additional pre-show going on. So it was a great environment tonight. That's why we're doing a little bit later show, because I was there taking in the first meet and seeing how everything was going to go. So fantastic outing, though, great victory. But as we continue on here, we got some interesting stats from the Arkansas baseball team as they opened up fall, their first practices. So we saw a handful of deep shots from several different guys on this roster from the first spring scrimmage. So we'll run through the numbers real quick. Ryder Helfrich, 107 miles an hour off the bat, 424. Micah New, 108 off the bat, 462. Turner, 101 off the bat, 404. And then Holland, 100 off the bat, 393.
Beautiful. Just amazing. So, I mean, that 462 is like upper deck level in a Major League Baseball stadium. That's phenomenal. And this is a guy that won the summer league MVP, ranked as the top senior in the country. I mean, he is he is going to have a monster season. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, and he was a guy that, I think, initially when we were going through transfer portal stuff, was a guy that they weren't necessarily 100% sure that might get here.
Yeah.
Because his last season as a junior at Marshall last year, played 54 games, 54 starts, hit for 276, 343, and 560 with a team leading 15 home runs, 52 RBIs, scored a team high 55 runs on the year, 67 hits, 14 of those doubles, 5 triples, drew 25 walks, was 14 of 15 in stolen bases attempts. For the following season, as you mentioned, MVP of the Cape Cod Baseball League, where he hit 280, 364, 508, with the league leading 8 home runs, 23 RBIs in 35 games for the Foulmouth Commodores. So,
all that just feels really good to me. So,
there's a lot of power in this team, man. You got Helfrich that just hit a bunch of home runs out there too, and then I mean, not to mention the guy that didn't play, won the home run derby in the Cape Cod in Eloy. So, I mean, there's a lot of firepower on this offense.
Yeah, I love it.
And then the other guy that had a, big home run in this first scrimmage, Christian Turner, freshman, 6 foot 180 out of Houghton, Louisiana. So another Louisiana kid. As we know, we had good luck with one of our previous ones. So he was number 76 outfielder in the class of 25, number 4 overall prospect, and number 2 outfielder in Louisiana. A guy that could be potentially vying for, an outfield spot. If you had to guess, Hobbs, obviously New is going to be out there. Eloy is going to be out there. Who's going to take that other spot out there in left?
Yeah, that's a good question. You got Zach Stewart that could be getting the start out there. Could be a platoon type of thing where you see a guy like Damian Ruiz or Turner that you're talking about. It's interesting because you could be seeing some freshmen play in this lineup, more than one. So that's where it's gonna be interesting. I think you're going to see. I don't know if it's going to be like it was 2 years ago where you had a kind of a rotation out there in left field, but we'll see. I mean, it may be a point where a guy gets in the lineup and makes it to where Dave Van Horn can't take him out of it. So we'll see.
No, for our sake, hopefully so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know he was talking about a little surprised that huge bomb from New came off a guy like Steele Eves, and like he said, he doesn't give him up often, and he said it's a good thing to see these hitters being able to hit well, coming into this first scrimmage. Like you mentioned, Hobbs, we've got a little bit longer to practice before the season opens up, so to kind of get these guys getting in rhythm before we head down to Arlington in about a month from now to open up the season.
Yeah, it's good to get the scrimmages we're getting now, and yeah, Eves has been pretty dominant. He pitched pretty good in the summer too. So that was probably his first rough outing he's had in a while.
Yeah, and I think what I'm ready to see too is it never fails that Arkansas has no shortage of great hitters, guys that come out there and can just blast the ball. I think for me, I'm interested to see, at least towards the beginning of the season, who we trot out there after Geckel. I know you got a lot of options. We kind of hit on this the other night, but you've got several different directions you can go. So who are going to be those guys that kind of get that first initial call from Dave saying, all right, you're up, here's the ball, go show me what you got?
That's a good question. At this point, it's hard to say. I don't know what his plan, if he wants to go right, left, right, or right, and then left. But you got to think Hunter Dietz is going to be a guy that you're going to see on the weekend. The way that they've been talking about how good he's been pitching and looks healthy. And like I mentioned before, he was the guy that's supposed to come in here and be one of the best pitchers we've had. But injury has found him. But hopefully he can stay healthy this year. And then, you got Cole Gibbler, who didn't have the greatest day on the mound in the scrimmage. And then, it's really tough to say who the next guy is going to be after those three. We haven't seen Colin Fisher yet. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's not going to be 3 lefties in a row or 3 righties in a row. I can tell you that much. So, you're definitely going to see Geckel. He's the guy, and then Dietz for certain. The third guy is the question mark. I know we got a 4-game weekend, opening weekend, but I'm pretty sure Fisher will probably start one of those. But you also got to have the guys that can come out of the pen who can give you length out of the pen. So it's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Yeah, another guy that I'd be interested to see, what Dave does with him, is a guy that transferred in, James DeCreamer from Oregon State. 6'1", 205 righty. As a redshirt freshman at Oregon State last year, made 14 appearances, had 3 starts on the mound, posted a 3-0 record with a 5.34 ERA, 30 strikeouts in 28 and 2/3 innings, allowed 18 runs on 34 hits and 11 walks, worked a scoreless inning of relief and recorded a strikeout in his collegiate debut. So a guy that seems like he's a very talented guy. And, it's always fun when you get guys from programs like Oregon State,
Yeah. That unfortunately, Oregon State feels like a lifetime ago. How long
Right.
ago that was now, but yeah, Aiden Jimenez worked out pretty good. So, maybe that we might be fishing out there from now on.
Right. Pigpen said, just got back. Hobbs is, and we kind of talked about this. Is there no question, no doubt, main ace for this year? And I think that the answer, like we just talked about, I think Dave kind of expects it to be Gabe Geckel. But
yeah, it's definitely expectation that Geckel, this should be the year. This should be his breakout year where he has a great year and ends up being a first-round pick in the summer. But he had a rough start to the season last year, got moved to the bullpen, ended up finishing strong out of the bullpen. But yeah, there's no doubt it's Geckel. Now you got to have more than just him. So that's where Hunter Dietz comes into play. And it may be a situation where Dietz may take off and running and he gets put as the Friday night guy. So I don't know if there's a clear answer as far as who's going to be 1, 2, 3 every series, but I know for certain Geckel and Dietz are going to be two of the guys you see every weekend.
Yeah. And, I don't know if I heard Dave. I don't think he mentioned it in his initial presser. I haven't heard him necessarily talk about it. Are we expecting Carson Wiggins to be ready for the beginning of the season?
I haven't heard anything that he's not ready.
Right.
So I haven't heard anything as far as, what his status is. That's a great question. That's something I've been wondering.
Because that's another guy that I think could have the potential to slide into one of those starting roles.
Yeah, it just depends on how healthy he is. So,
because you look at, what he did before he got hurt, made 14 appearances, all those in relief before that injury. He was a 1-1 record with a 3.21 ERA with 20 strikeouts in 14 innings. So had 3 saves as well on the year, which was second most on the teams behind Fouch as a freshman.
Yeah. It wouldn't shock me at all to see him, come out of the bullpen, just obviously maybe not to start because we don't know his status, but once he kind of gets to where they're, he's kind of ready to go, bring him out of the bullpen for a few games, kind of give him an inning here, inning there, and see. But by conference time, I wouldn't be shocked to see him as one of the weekend starters, the way he can play.
Yeah, he had surgery in late April. So that would be a year. That would be 10 months now. It was starting the season. So
yeah.
So interesting to see.
I'm trying to remember what specifically did he have done. It wasn't Tommy John, was it?
I think it
was, wasn't it? Let me check.
Yeah, I think it was.
See Sir John's elbow, but
yeah, that's very vague. But more than likely, if he,
if it's an elbow injury after the season, most likely I would guess Tommy John, but we don't know for sure.
Yeah, it never said for certain, but it was elbow.
Yeah. So, but as we know, a really talented guy that I think we were a little bit surprised that made it to campus last year. Had a great start to the season, and just unfortunately, like we kind of talked about, Dietz was just that freshman year derailed with injury.
Yep.
But hopefully, that's one thing to think about too with having the additional time, the additional practice time before the season starts, is it allows you to have a little bit more time to kind of get your pitcher's arms worked up to speed in terms of pitch counts and things like that by how much they're throwing instead of, you have a handful of guys that, like Dave said, we'll run about 60 pitches. And then, after that, you kind of just it's all up in the air.
Yeah, because normally when the season starts, you don't really get to see your guys go a whole max, 90 pitches to 100. Later in the season, you still probably won't see Dave let a guy go that long anyway to start the season. So, because if you don't recall, last year when we went to Arlington, guess who got hurt? Gage Wood. So, it's definitely benefits the pitchers. So definitely going to help. And then this pitching staff, there's a lot of guys that, can take a shot, take a position this year with it being wide open, really, because we didn't get that kind of transfer come in. That's a lock.
Yeah. You got a handful of guys that we've kind of talked about, but no for sure locks. Like another guy we talked about the other day, Jackson Kircher from Oklahoma, another guy that's a righty that, it's all really interesting, and it's going to be fun to watch and see how Dave kind of navigates this as we, who knows, maybe over those first few weekends of that non-conference play, you see a different rotation every weekend. Probably not, just knowing how Dave likes to operate. He gets his guys set that he feels confident in. He's going to kind of lock those in. But, as we know, he's not afraid to make a change, because we saw that last year with Gecko where it got to the point in the season where he was hurting you more than he was helping you being in a starting role. And then he was kind of excelling in the closing type role. So, we'll see what Dave has up his sleeve this year for this pitching staff. Hopefully Gecko can turn into that type of guy that, like we mentioned, follow that kind of timeline of looks great his freshman year, struggles a little bit out the gate his sophomore year, but kind of really turns it on towards the end of the year in a different type of role. And now it's your junior season, time to come out and do what's expected of you, and that's to be the ace on this roster. So,
yep.
But we'll keep an eye out and keep you updated on all the scrimmages that the squad's going to have over the next few weeks before we get ready to get the season started down in Arlington in the second weekend of February. It's going to be fun to watch. I'm excited for another season of baseball. And we'll be down there to open the season with the Hawgs in Arlington, so it'll be fun. But we'll get ready to wrap up here. You guys got anything else before we finish up?
Nope.
No, just for a good week, and should go 2-0 in Bud Walton. If we don't, I'm not going to be a very happy camper.
Well, knock on wood right now. Just be safe.
Hey, Hobbs not about that superstition, so
I don't live superstitious life. I'm not saying we're not cursed, because it definitely feels that way, but
oh yeah, it does.
But yeah. So with that, as I mentioned earlier, Tuesday night this week, Arkansas will take on Vanderbilt at Bud Walton Arena at 8:00. And so get ready to tune in for that. Be there if you can. We'll continue to do each week and each episode a little bit of baseball preview and give you the news we get out of practices and these scrimmages and what things are shaping up like. But, as always, kind of the expectations for this baseball team is to get ramped up and ready for another run to Omaha. So can't wait to get that season started. We're just under a month away, but we're going to get wrapped up here. As always, don't forget to like and subscribe to the show on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. That way you don't miss any time we go live. Everybody enjoy the rest of your Sunday night and tomorrow. That's the holiday, short work week for most people. And so we'll be back on Thursday, our regularly scheduled episode, and give you the latest updates that we know. So for now, from Hobbs, Zane, myself, we're going to get out of here. Everybody enjoy your Sunday night, and the wild finish that's going to be to this NFL playoff game as the Bears and Rams are in overtime. So,
Yeah, I gotta get downstairs and watch that.
Yeah.
with that, we'll get out of here and we'll see you guys next time.